Oh, yeah. You know, Concepts who gets you with those early release builds. We got a 6700 XT in the bag. We got a 6700 XT in the bag. And it's here to stay. And it's here to stay. This is not an ASMR video, so why am I whispering? I don't know. But what a beautiful, I repeat, beautiful build we've got coming up today. This truly is an absolute beauty. What have we got in this PC today to make use of a 6700 XT? Well, we're starting off with a Ryzen 5 5600X. This is probably my favourite CPU. It's just so fast, and 6 cores is great for your gaming. If you're going to be doing streaming and other things kind of semi-seriously, probably want to go for an 8 core. Something like a 10700F would be nice, but for just pure gaming, 5600X is absolutely baller, so we're going with that. That's really nice. Yeah, it comes with a cooler in the box. It's a bit loud. Like, the performance is fine. It's not going to degrade your performance too much. It's just a bit noisy. So we've gone with an Arctic Freezer 34 Esports. It's like my favorite cooler for like any sort of Ryzen 5s, Ryzen 7s, up to Intel's, i7s, as long as it's not the K variant. The 34 Esports is a really nice cooler, nice and cheap. Motherboard, lots of people like to spend loads of money on motherboards for like 6-core chips, which doesn't make any sense. Those posh motherboards, they're meant for the Ryzen 9s and the Intel i9s. If you've got a 5600X, this ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming 4AC is really fine, and it's got the Wi-Fi built in as well. Honestly, you put this 5600X in this, then put it in an X570 Tomahawk, you're just not going to notice a difference. It's not going to be any faster in any appreciable way, so why waste the money when you could buy other stuff with that? For the memory, this is nice memory, got a decent price. This is Crucial Ballistics RGB, 3600 speed, CL16 and 16 gigs over 2 lots of 8. So it's quite premium sort of RAM. It's pretty nice, nice step up from 3200, but really, if the 3200 is a lot cheaper, just get that, because again, you're not going to notice a difference unless you've got your benchmarking software on, so that's pretty nice. SSD, Western Digital Blue SN550 1TB, classic, high performance and a really good price, getting these for £79 per unit, so it's a no-brainer really, isn't it, getting the NVMe, because SATA SSDs are more expensive than that, and that just doesn't make any sense. Graphics card, of course. Star of the show today is the Sapphire RX 6700 XT, 12 gigabytes. It's the reference design made by Sapphire, so it's not an AIB card, really. So hopefully we'll see that performing nicely later. I really like the look of the reference designs for AMD. I think they everyone goes on about the Nvidia ones, which are really nice as well. But I think, they get some credit for a nice design. I like the R, I like the sort of the clean sort of aesthetic to it. It looks pretty nice. The case for this one, I think I originally planned to use a Corsair, but I ended up using a Phanteks P400A RGB, just because it's what I had in stock at the time. But a really awesome case as well. I think I got the white shroud version with the black internals, but I think it looks really cool. It's a really, really good case, and around 80 quid, it's actually great value because you get those 3 RGB fans included, and they're 3-pin, so they're addressable. And in the back, we also picked up another SK120 fan, which is the same Phanteks fan that you get in the front, so that you got the unified RGB from all 4 fans, because that's somewhere that the cases always let you down. They give you the 3 front ones, but not the back one, so you pick up the other back one. Power supply on this one is a Seasonic S12 650 watt. This is the best deal in the UK if you want a power supply, getting these at £43 per unit. I think 5 delivery as well, so maybe £48, but that's really pretty nice for a 650 watt bronze, which is really reliable because Seasonics are great. Windows 10 Pro, obviously we need that to run the PC. Your Wi-Fi is built in, so there we go. Let's get on with the build, and we'll have another chilly chat at the end, like we like to do. Concept Soup. P400A, such a good case. I just love how it looks. It looks really, really sweet. But this ain't a case review. This is just like a little fun build. So we're not going to sing the praises of that too much, although it is a great buy. So scores on the doors. Heaven benchmark, FPS 193.9. So that's sort of pretty nice. That's putting it in between sort of 3060 Ti, 3070, which is about where you'd expect. Score of 4883. Yeah, pretty respectable, pretty nice. That's sort of like your classic sort of 1440p graphics card score, you know, upper end. Prime 95 is what we use to test the CPU. Prime 95 is a very unrealistic test. You're not really even going to hammer the CPU like this. Even if you did multi-core rendering, it's never going to really hit it quite like Prime 95 does. And Prime 95 hits the RAM quite hard as well. So in this one, but the result's really great because the Ryzen 5 5600 is 65 watt TDP, stays nice and cool. So with that Freezer esports cooler on it, it was really good. So we got 69 as the maximum temperature, and then I always have the metric called the settled temperature, which isn't very scientific. It's just something that I put into it just so that the customers know when they look at their receipt what a realistic sort of stress test temperature is, because Prime 95 will give you a big spike in temperature, but eventually over time all the parts will heat soak and get acclimatized, and then it will hit sort of a consistent but high temperature. So in this case the settled temperature 65 degrees C. For the graphics card I use overclock checking tool, or OCCT, and it's got a 3D mode on there, so I use that. 30 minutes run that for, just record the maximum temperature. This one was 76 degrees. Now that's actually a bit hotter than I'm used to. Typically all the RTX cards that I've been using, all their temperatures tend to be hovering around sort of low 70s, which is nice. That's really good cooling performance. The only one that didn't do that was the Zotac Twin Edge, which did tend to hit this kind of 75, 76 kind of range. But really 76 actually not that bad. It's fine. I think with tweaking the fan profile you might be able to improve that a little bit. But 76 is absolutely fine. It's not going to thermal throttle in games. The worst offender I've had for this kind of like heat generating thing, I'm very liberal with temperatures. Like I don't mind if it runs at like in the 80s because that's fine. But we had a Mech OC 5700 XT last year, and it was going up to like 88 or something ridiculous in the stress test, which is just too much. There's no reason for it to be that high. But so 76 on this 6700 XT is absolutely fine. Next, we tested a bit of Fortnite. So we used the solo mode. We put it on competitive settings because this is what most people actually play on, and it gives you the highest sort of FPS. So it's nice for selling the computer because you can get, oh, it's got all these FPS. And this did really, really well. And this kind of just shows that the Radeon cards are really good for the rasterization performance. So this FPS average was a massive 470. There must be some really good driver optimizations for Radeon at the moment in Fortnite, and I know they had some kind of tie-in together. But 470 is amazing. Of course, when you're playing at the competitive settings like this, especially on Fortnite, this kind of game, it's more of a CPU benchmark than it is a GPU benchmark, because you know the GPU is only being used about 60%, so that's kind of, you know, what explains that. But it's a nice number to sell a PC with, so that's why it's that price. COD Warzone is the next one. Typically COD Warzone gets about half the FPS that Fortnite does in my testing, and that's pretty much bang on here. So the average we got here was 207 FPS. Again, Warzone is less of a CPU benchmark, even at the competitive low settings. But it still will rely heavily on the CPU. So this was 207 FPS average, which is pretty nice. So typically if I had this 5600X and a 3070, this typically comes in sort of around sort of 215 to 225. So it's just shy of the 3070, and that's kind of what I've found with this performance, because this is a very standard system for me. I'd pretty much do the same thing with a 3070 every day of the week anyway. And if you compare them, you find the 6700 XT is just a little bit shy of the 3070. And actually, considering the price is a little bit lower, I think that's fair enough. I think it's a good card, and I think the fact that it's got 12 gigabytes of RAM will actually give it a bit of future proofing, because things like the RX 580 having 8 gigabytes when they did actually did give them that kind of future proofing, didn't it? It was good. And I think if you're going to be playing at 1440p with the high textures rather than going for these competitive settings, that 12 gigs of VRAM is going to be a really nice thing to have. So Conclusion time. What do we think of the build? Of course, very easy to build in the Phanteks P400A. It's a really nicely laid out case. All of the parts work together really, really nicely. Can't complain about any of it. The only thing that was annoying was the crucial RAM. Their RGB implementation is pretty rubbish. The only thing that worked, and this includes their own software, that didn't work. I had to install Armory Crate, even though it's not an Asus board, which is a bit of a shame because I don't like to have too much software installed, but it's okay, we got it to work, and the RAM speed was also really good. So would I recommend a 6700 XT for your next gaming PC? Actually, yes, and of course, just like any GPU, it depends on the price you can get it at. If you can get it somewhere near market value, and that's going to be anything up to about £550, including VAT, that's a pretty sweet little deal, actually. I'd be happy with that. Maybe even up to just shy of, yeah, maybe 600 is a bit much for this. 550 would be a good price in this current market to pay for this graphics card. Of course, if you can get it at RRP, so much the better, because it is just shy of the 3070, so you shouldn't be paying 3070 prices for this. But that 12 gigabytes of VRAM is going to be really nice in the future. But if you are a streamer or a content creator, I would say go for the 3070 or the 3060 Ti. Both would be better options than this because it has the NVENC encoder. And actually, you can see I'm blurring my background out now using NVIDIA Broadcast, and these kind of little features actually really do matter to some people. So that's something you really should consider. But that's enough waffling from me. I've spoken enough today. I want you to speak now. I want to comment down below. What did you think of the video? Please like, subscribe, share, tell your mates. I want to hear everybody loving Concept Soup's content. And that's enough from me. Goodbye!